الشيخ عبد العزيز جاهز؟
دكتور بلال هيحتاج الموقع بتاع الموبايل عشان
اشيله يعني شوي؟
قطع الكادر عليه.
طيب ماشي بعمله هيك مو مشكلة. تمام هيك؟ تمام. قول عني عاقل بعدين. بس.
انا رايي بقى نعيم يكلم. حاجه بهزر.
بسم الله الرحمن
الرحيم.
خلي بالك انت جيت في منطقتي.
ايوه يعني بص.
ايوه
منطقتي.
انت كيف بتلعب في ملعبي؟
انا بحاول اقدم على الايمان ان شاء الله.
الفايل بتاعك هيجي عندي.
حتفلت منه ازاي؟ مش حتفلت.
هيجي عندي وبعد كده ببعت له النتيجه هو. سايكل كده مش مظبوط.
ام لايف دكتور ايه؟
والله
لايف؟
ايه ده مناعيم الخدع السينمائيه دي.
احنا جاهز. توكلنا على الله. بسم الله.
بس اسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر.
الله أكبر الله أكبر يا رب.
الله أكبر الله أكبر.
الله أكبر الله أكبر.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
حي على الصلاة. حي على حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده سبحانه ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول به بيننا وبين معصيتك، ومن طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك، ومن اليقين ما تهون به علينا مصائب الدنيا. ومتعنا اللهم بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقواتنا ما أحييتنا، واجعله الوارث منا، واجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا، وانصرنا اللهم على من عادانا. اللهم ولا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا، ولا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا. واللهم صل وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين سيدنا محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. وعنا معهم إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم إن زلزلة الساعة شيء عظيم يوم ترونها تذهل كل مرضعة عما أرضعت وتضع كل ذات حمل حملها وترى الناس سكارى وما هم بسكارى ولكن عذاب الله شديد. In the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most compassionate, the most merciful, all praise and thanks are due to Him, and peace and blessings be upon His beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He who is guided by the will of Allah, no one can misguide him, and he who is misguided, no one can guide him except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I do bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is His messenger. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thanks for everyone shares us our pain, especially from our non-Muslim brothers and sisters. This gathering is to raise our voices high against hatred and against terrorism and against Islamophobia and against xenophobia and all kinds of hatred against minorities. Let's see together what is the thing, respected brothers and sisters, that they hate us because of it, to the degree of the amazing incident that an innocent family, they lost their lives in a few seconds because of it. Let's see those who hold the hatred, how ignorant they are and how misled they are. Islam, let's have an idea about what they are ignorant about. Islam, which is proudly the name of our religion, goes to many root verbs. It goes to silm, which means peace. It goes to salima, which means he is saved, he is protected. It goes to taslim, which means submission. So the name of our religion, by default, it tells you that by submitting to the will of your Lord, you will be protected, you will save, you will achieve peace. This is the name. Still, we have not get into it. Look how ignorant they are when they hate us. Many people don't know that Muslims believe in all other previous prophets and messengers. It's not just we believe. Actually, it's part of our faith to a degree. If someone disrespects Prophet Moses or Prophet Jesus, a sign of disrespect for Moses, Jesus, or Solomon, or David, or Noah, or Abraham, you will be an apostate. How many people they know this about our religion? If you make a joke against Jesus Christ, a joke, just out of fun, just to be cool, you will be leaving Islam, you will be apostate. How many people know this? How many Muslims know that? How many non-Muslims that we have this amazing amount of respect to others? But ignorance sends another message. But the media, the biased media, says something else. How many people know that we have a special chapter in our Quran, our holy book, about Maryam? May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon her. Virgin Mary, the mother of Jesus. And by the way, in the Bible itself, there is no special chapter about Virgin Mary. We have it. It's just to tell you how others, they don't know what Islam is. How many people that there's a full chapter about the virginity, about the chastity, about the purity of Mary, Virgin Mary. We have it, and it's part of our worship, and when we recite it, we are doing an act of worship. How many Muslims and non-Muslims, they don't know this about us? How many non-Muslims know this? I assume just a little, because of ignorance. Hatred, one of the main reasons of hatred could be ignorance. So let's make benefit of such. Please educate others. The big question now, why do they hate us? Why do they want to kill us like he killed? Let me correct, please, the question. Even though I asked the question, but I have to correct the question. Actually, they do not hate us, but they hate everyone else rather than themselves. But who are they? Who are they? They are the racists, the terrorists, the xenophobic, the descendants of Hitler Nazism. This is the group of people that we are talking about. They hate everyone who does not look like them. They hate the other, and they don't believe in his or her rights to exist, unfortunately. Sadly, and this is a very important point, those people of hate, those racists, those religious racists, ethnic racists, whatever color-based racists, those racists in general, with many different motivations, they still don't or can't realize or even don't want to realize that this other is the medical doctor of his family, and this other is the teacher of his kids, and this other is the mechanic of his car, and the technician who fixes many things in his life, and the owner of the restaurant who always enjoys the best food with. They don't realize when they hate others that simply they are hating nearly the majority of everyone else around them, because this is Canada. What is Canada? It's a group of migrants from all over the world. So when a group of people hate others, what do you mean by the others? Others is everyone else except yourself, the one who's holding this way of thinking. They don't realize that those others who built and participating in making Canada what Canada is like today, unfortunately, because of his or this heart blindness and hatred. Unfortunately, those people were raised up in a very intolerant environment, and for years, and here comes what my colleagues and my brothers and sisters, the politicians, the MPs, the people of representative of DAR Foundation will be talking about in a few minutes. And the role of the government and the security bodies in chasing those people and bring them to justice comes as a next step. We have them, yes, but what's next? We need justice to be applied, because if justice is not applied on everyone in a just way, no one will feel safe. Injustice, if disappears, if we don't feel the justice, everyone will think God knows in which way. We need to realize that those people, they don't hate Muslims. No, they hate all minorities, all others. They hate black people, they hate Chinese people, they hate indigenous people. They hate Jews, Muslims, Sikhs, Asians, Chinese, everyone else, because they are the others from their point of view. Muslims should be proud that their prophet taught them 1400 years ago that there is no favor for an Arab upon a non-Arab, and no favor for a non-Arab upon an Arab, or for a white upon a black, or for a black upon a white, except by piety. The only criterion that we admit that you are better than the other with your piety. Piety means to what degree you respect the command of your lords and you fear him and you do justice to others. Otherwise, your color, your race, your sex, your education means nothing unless if you respect your Lord and you don't hurt anyone. By this, you will have some kind of degree or a rank or whatever, call it whatever. Otherwise, Prophet 1400 years ago, how many people know that? That this was said when racism was the core point of people on the globe. This was said 1400 years ago. In Islam, the black slave from Abyssinia, Bilal radiallahu anhu, became one of the greatest masters of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was a black from Abyssinia. He became a master, a leader, a great companion of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam because of Islam. This is Islam. Unfortunately, many people, they don't know that. Go and read about Malcolm X and how he became a Muslim when he realized the power of Islam in fighting racism. And by the way, those people, and it's good to know that, many people, they don't know what I will be referring to, even from Muslims themselves. Many people, I'm talking about racists now, different types of racists, they are following the exact footsteps of their grandmaster. Do you know who's their grandmaster? It's Iblis, Satan. Iblis, Satan, when he was commanded to prostrate for our father, to do the sujood for our father Adam, by our Lord, God Almighty Allah. He commanded him to do the prostration for our father Adam. He refused, justifying his refusal by saying, I'm better than him. أنا خير منه خلقتني من نار وخلقته من طين. What is this? The first racist in the history is Iblis. قال أنا خير, I'm better than him. My Lord, you created me from fire and you created him, Adam, from clay. I'm better than him. So anyone who's holding a concept of racism, religious racism, ethnic racism, whatever, color racism, he is following the footsteps of Iblis, the Satan. He is from the supporters of the Satan with all of his evil, because Satan was the first thing why he was deprived from the Jannah and he was kicked out of the Jannah. He refused the best of what? أنا خير منه, I'm better than him. Why? I am from fire, he's from clay. What kind of base is this? So they are following the footsteps of those, whether they are Muslims or non-Muslims. Racism is prohibited. Okay? Arrogance is prohibited, regardless. But in the same time, as well, our religion teaches us, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. Going towards the last few points before I finish. Yes, we are gathered here united against hate, against racism, against xenophobia, against Islamophobia, but be careful. Be careful, don't be like them. Don't ever allow yourself to do their action. Allah is telling us in chapter 5 in the Quran, verse 8, O believers, stand firm for Allah and bear true testimony, bear witness. Do not let the hatred of a people lead you to injustice. We have a small minority of people of racists. They hate others. If you, as a reaction, do the same thing, what is the difference between you and them? You will be like them. Be careful. Don't use their mentality. Don't react in their way. It is prohibited in Islam. يا أيها الذين ولا يجرمنكم. Oh believers, do not let the hatred of a people, even if you hate them, even if you hate their killers, don't deal with them in their way. This is the Quran. Don't let the hatred of a people lead you to injustice. Be just. That is closer to righteousness. And be mindful of Allah. Surely Allah is all aware of what you do. In many Quranic verses, prophetic traditions or sayings, Islam tells us that, another important point, killing an innocent person could lead to an eternal punishment in the hellfire forever. It's not a joke in Islam. It's not a joke just because you hate. Even if you hate, you have no right to hurt. Maybe they hurted you. You have no right to kill. Go to the courts, ask for justice, complain, but don't kill. It's one of the highest degrees of major sins of Islam. فَكَأَنَّمَا قَتَلَ النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا وَمَنْ أَحْيَاهَا فَكَأَنَّمَا. It's amazing, the Quran. For some people, they will be considered when someone kills someone, innocent people, without a valid reason. He's not a criminal. He's not a genocider. You are not defending yourself. You're just attacking them. With whatever reason you have, you will be considered in the sight of Allah as if you have killed all humanity, and you will be indwelled in the hellfire forever. It's not a joke. It's not a. Let the people know that this is how we think, and don't allow anyone to let us lose this beautiful core point in our religion. Finally, let's not do the same thing that they are doing. The majority of people around us, they are a great people. Those racists are very tiny minority. Don't allow them to destroy our beautiful relation. The majority of people around us, they are great people, nice people, like ourselves. They came seeking a better life. They want to love and to be loved. Let's unite together, Muslims and non-Muslims, everyone against racists, because racism, hatred, terrorism has no religion. We have Muslim terrorists, yes. terrorists, we have Chinese terrorists, we have Arab terrorists, we have American terrorists, we have European terrorists, we have white terrorists, we have black terrorists. So don't allow anyone just to stack terrorism with a religion because of man. All nations, they have terrorists. All races, they have terrorists. So let's unite against terrorism, not allow anyone just to bring this just to one group. All people, they have their own bad people, inshallah, minority. Let's unite with the majority of good people against the bad, evil people, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of us the happiness and help us to be the best of the best and to be a reason of the best for anyone else around us. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فيا فوز المستغفرين. استغفر الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده سبحانه ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد، يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم ارحمنا فوق الأرض وتحت الأرض ويوم العرض عليك يا كريم. اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا ولوالد والدينا والأصحاب الحقوق والواجبات علينا يا رب يا كريم يا عظيم يا حنان يا منان. اللهم اغفر يا الله لأمواتنا وأموات المؤمنين مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم ارحم المستضعفين مشارق الأرض ومغاربها واغفر لنا وعذنا من التقصير. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. وأقم الصلاة. خذ
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
المشكلة صلي عليه. موسى صلي عليه صلي عليه صلي عليه ما في مشكلة. لا لا عفوا خلص هون بريح.
حط الكاميرا دكتور هنا بس.
هلا بجيبها جزاك الله خير. ايوه عمي انا بتشرب. حضرتك هتصلي جنبي؟ ممكن صلي ان شاء الله.
سنة كده.
اليسار سنة جنة. اوكي تمام. انا بجي ان شاء الله بس اضبط
استقيم رحمكم الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اجتنبوا كثيرا من الظن إن بعض الظن إثم ولا تجسسوا ولا يغتب بعضكم بعضا
أيحب أحدكم أن يأكل لحم أخيه ميتا فكرهتموه واتقوا الله إن الله تواب رحيم. يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
مهم نوقف يعني واقف اصلا تعال وقفوا ليه تعال.
السلام عليكم. السلام عليكم. everyone where is from كان
انا بس
ها فكرة خطط على بالي وانا بصلي صدق فيها ولا
والله لازم ما بدكم انا كل الناس تتحرك كده
السلام عليكم. عايز نصلي
زي ما بدكم انا بلاش
هنصلي. طيب ان شاء الله after we pray we have to move to the podium to everyone to pray. Let's I know Brother Faraz didn't know that. I know. Can we pray Salatul Ghaib before we start for Takbirah? Let's go. Salatul Ghaib, inshallah, on anyone who died, inshallah. Everyone knows how to pray Salatul Ghaib, Ghaib. Inshallah, Takbiratul Ihram and the Fatiha. Dr. Ahmed will say it. Okay, we'll stand so that everyone stands, inshallah. Stay with us, inshallah, so that we can talk. After that, we'll turn all of us, inshallah.
We have four takbirat. It's a special prayer for those who passed away. May Allah descend His mercy upon their souls. We have the intention that we pray Salatul Ghaib, which means that we will pray on the one who is absent from those who passed away. May Allah descend His mercy. 4 takbirat. After the first takbirah, you read Al-Fatiha. After second takbirah, you say Salat Ibrahimi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, as you say in the prayer. After the third takbirah, special dua if you know it. If you don't know it, make dua, make prayer for the one who passed away and all believers. And then the last one, Allahumma la tahrimna ajrahum wa la taftinna ba'dahum. Allahu Akbar. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen ar-Rahman ar-Rahim Maliki yawm ad-Din iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim sirata alladhina an'amta 'alayhim. Allahu Akbar. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما باركت على ابراهيم. الله اكبر. اللهم اغفر لحينا وميتنا وشاهدنا وغائبنا وكبيرنا وصغيرنا وذكرنا وانثانا ومن احييته منا فاحيا على الاسلام ومن امته منا فامته على الايمان. اللهم اغسلهم بالماء والثلج والبرد ونقهم من الذنوب والخطايا والاثام كما ينقى الثوب الابيض والدنس ابدلهم دارا خيرا من دار اهل خير اهل. الله اكبر. اللهم لا تحرمنا اجرهم ولا تفتنا بعدهم واغفر لنا ولهم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الله يكرمك وإياكم إن شاء الله.
Assalamu alaikum. May I request everyone to turn towards the stage, inshallah, for the seat, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Please stay with us, inshallah, so that we can hear them. Jazakumullah khair.
الله يجزيك خير دكتور.
الله يكرمك يا رب ويبارك فيك إن شاء الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We'll be starting our program, inshallah. And alhamdulillah, we know it's raining, but jazakumullah khair for coming down. And it's perfect rain, as the mayor just said, actually. It's perfect to wash our sins. So, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Inshallah, so there's going to be short speeches by all the guests. We thank them very much for joining us despite of the rain. But this is important for us, rain or shine, to show our solidarity with the families, the victim family in London, and to show our position as a community. A lot of wires. Sorry about that. طيب. Jazakumullah khair again for coming. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. Inshallah, we have a program where we're going to hear from our MPs and MPPs, local MPs and MPPs, our respected mayor and representative of the chief of police. And we're also going to be hearing from our community members. I want to start in my name and the name of DAR Foundation and the Oakville community, the Muslim Oakville community, shortly. Subhanallah, this is not the first time that we have this gathering. This is not the first time that we have this grief. This is not the first time that we say enough. But yet, there hasn't been any major changes or solutions. I just want to remind myself and remind you all and remind our respected guests. Want to remind our respected guests that Islamophobia is fueled by three main sources. Source number one being, unfortunately, the media. The media that doesn't stop downplaying Islamophobia, doesn't stop fueling Islamophobia, doesn't stop really creating Islamophobia. And unfortunately, whenever we say, please, the media is hurting us, the answer that we get is freedom of speech. And by the way, we have absolutely no problem with freedom of speech. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our Quran asked us to open up for freedom of speech. But what we are against is hate incitement. Freedom of speech when it comes to dialogue and asking proper questions and constructive criticism is welcomed. But hate incitement is not. We tried for so many years to draw the link between the abusive media and what happens on the ground of killing innocent people, but no one listened. And now, again and again, we see, fueled by media, on the ground, we see people committing atrocities and terrorism. The number two reason or fuel of Islamophobia, religious extremists, racist ideologies. And finally, it is great to see today that the 3%ers who in 2016, they openly on social media said, we are ready to open war on Muslims. We are ready to clean Canada from Muslims. They said it openly in 2016. And when we said this cannot be happening, unfortunately, nothing happened. They said it's freedom of speech. As long as they're just saying words but not acting upon it, we can't do anything. But guess what? They're acting upon it. If they're not acting upon it themselves, they are encouraging others to act upon it. So we really need to see the media. I'm not saying take away freedom of speech, but let's be very aware and sensitive to hate incitement. And we would love our local government and our federal government to do something about this, because we know it's the source of such terrorism. And the last point, politicians. And we do have politicians with us that we respect, and we call them friends. But unfortunately, one of the main sources of Islamophobia was actually a federal government, led by Stephen Harper, who on national TV openly said, Islamism is the biggest threat to Canadians in Canada. He said this in 2014 and was right before the elections of 2015. What do you think? The racists, how would they react to such statements from the head of the state? We know how they would react to it. We've seen how they would react to it. And unfortunately, the attitude of the government reflected on security agencies, mainly RCMP. And we know that RCMP in 2014 and prior to that, unfortunately, they were targeting Muslims. There has been cases of entrapment, and one of the biggest one that we know, one of our community members, Abdurrahman al-Bahnisawi, a young man who we all know that is bipolar and has a medical condition. A young man who myself had taught math when he was little. He was entrapped. There was no mercy. Considering his case as an ill young man, he was entrapped and arrested in New York and now left in a terrible condition in one of the maximum security prisons in New York with no medical attention and no human treatment. Abdurrahman Bahnisawi is a symbol for what happened to our security agencies of focusing on Muslim youth and entrapping Muslim youth and fueling Islamophobia. Isn't it time for us to realize that this issue has to be solved? When we see all the problems that were created in the past 15 years, or maybe since 2001, we don't see any real change. However, we know there will still be hope. It is very interesting and funny. In 2014, when the RCMP started their program, the de-radicalization of Muslim youth, the focus was Muslim youth. And when we asked the question, why Muslim youth? What is the real magnitude of what you're claiming? What about the rest of the youth? They said, this is the orders. I had a conversation one-to-one with the chief of RCMP, and I told him the Muslim youth, if we assume there is any radicalization, it's because of the government. It's because of the head of the government. You know what he told me? He said, my job is to follow orders. And your job is to change governments. And he was right. Because in 2015 we did. We changed governments. And this is exactly the message that I want to give you, is the message of the chief of RCMP. And unfortunately, by changing governments, the change was very slow. Very slow, 6-7 years or 6 years. However, we're still happy of the announcement today that the 3%ers that I just spoke about, they were listed as a terrorist organization in Canada. This is an excellent move, but it's still not enough. It's still not enough. Because whoever created the 3%ers will create another 3%ers. Will create more terrorist groups that will target our Muslim youth. I don't want to take too long of your time, but my message to my Muslim community is don't lose hope. Stay strong, stand tall, and stand strong. And as I told you, our job is to keep talking to the government till we need real, strict laws that will deter those organizations or anybody of thinking of hurting anyone. The law has to be strong and strict. And my message to all the officials is, we believe in you, we've elected you. We believe in you and we believe you can make the change, but the change has to come quickly. It's a state of emergency, for God's sake. People are dying and losing their lives. So I hope that this will resonate. I know there's a lot of work being done by a lot of good organizations such as this NCCM, which we salute them and we support them and we salute their work. But please, to all of you, don't sit at home and just pray for change to happen. Praying is important, but work for it to happen. Engage in the community, and inshallah, it will happen. Jazakumullah khair for your attention. We're going to start, inshallah, now with our first speaker, our friend of our community, Mayor Rob Burton, to join me here on the stage to give you his remarks. I'll hold this.
Is that the mic?
Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. First, before I begin, I have to thank Oakville North Burlington MPP Effie Tranopoulos for her kindness to lend me her umbrella. I was not as prepared as you are. I believed the forecast that there would be no rain.
Yes, initially. But
All right.
This is a conspiracy.
All right. I hope that my words today can give more than comfort. I hope that I can shine a light on a path forward. And to do that, to talk about the path forward, I'm going to start with the founding of Oakville. 210 years ago, indigenous people here began welcoming settlers from all over the British Empire. And almost immediately, those newcomers began helping slaves escape from the United States to settle here with them. And today, our indigenous founding partners are still here enjoying with us the land they welcomed us to. They fish and they camp here every summer under their Treaty 22 rights. Indigenous people in their thousands also live with us as neighbors and as friends. Our indigenous white and black settlers created a community here on the shores of Lake Ontario with an attractive degree of harmony and prosperity. And by 1857, the Ontario government was ready to recognize Oakville officially as a town. At Town Hall, 160 years later, today, for the last 2 years, we have been flying the flag of the Mississaugas of the Credit beside the flags of Oakville, Ontario, and Canada. We fly those flags together to acknowledge our origins and where we came from and the spirit with which we were founded. People from all over the world now are attracted to the livability that has been created here. And we offer everyone our founding story so that everyone knows what they are part of. We feel sorrow and distress for the acts of racism and intolerance across Canada that go on and have gone on, and I fear to say very likely may continue to go on. But we want our future to be equitable and inclusive for all. And the path of truth and reconciliation can lift and unite us all. Town Council and I hope that everyone will learn and tell our founding story, because the principles of seeking harmony and prosperity together are what make Oakville great. They're what I think may have attracted you here in the first place. I want you to keep well and stay safe, and to always let me know of any chance to be helpful, not only to you, but also to others. And I also want to know anytime you have an idea to increase our harmony and our prosperity together. I'd like to share with you a letter that I received from Mayor Kasim Doumbia of Shippagan, New Brunswick. I wrote to Mayor Doumbia upon his election as a first black mayor in New Brunswick. So he wrote to me and he said, "Allow me, on behalf of the Shippagan City Council, to thank you for your letter. As you mentioned, the year 2020-21 was marked by a global pandemic that weakened our activities as well as had an impact on the economic development of municipalities. More than ever, we will have to stand shoulder to shoulder and work together to develop partnerships that will prove beneficial to our respective municipalities. As I embark on a new role," he writes, "I hope I can benefit from your great experience. I hope my election will have an impact on the recruitment and settling of newcomers or even Canadians to choose our town as their new home, because our municipality needs to increase its population. Even if we are at a distance and we are going toward the green phase of the pandemic, I am looking forward to see how it will be possible to initiate this new relationship, which I hope can lead to concrete and lasting partnerships." I want you to know of the spirit of cooperation that I'm trying to build, sort of a sister city relationship with the village. And but I don't want you, we need you in Oakville. You can send others to Shippagan. We want you here. So I have said to many newcomers that the warmest welcome in our community is for people who show up with willing hands when there is community work to be done. And a few minutes ago, my friend told you to stay engaged, and this is what I'm speaking to now. The idea of getting engaged in our community, staying engaged in our community, making friends and showing people the value that each of us can bring to the life that we create here together. The Muslims of Oakville and Halton have no superior. You have not been surpassed by any other group in your dedication to community service. You are on the right path to engage and expand awareness of the value that you bring to our community. And as the other speakers here will say, please don't let the horrible events in London cow you. We will always, I believe, have to deal with terroristic acts, stupid acts, and the acts of idiots. There is racism in our community. There is, you don't have to go to London to find racism and hate and Islamophobia, but you will not find a better community for standing up to it. And if we work together to do that, we can keep it back. Together we can enlarge the circle of understanding of what we have here. Now the rest of Oakville's council would be here today except for the weather and their other duties, but I hope you will stay involved. What happened in London was frightening and a horrible event. And what we're discovering in terms of unmarked burials of indigenous children in the former residential schools is also horrifying and dismaying. There's no shortage of things to be horrified and dismayed at. And no matter how good we are, we have to, I recognize with sadness that being good doesn't defend us when some terrorist tries to kill us. And that's what London teaches us. And it grieves me badly that there is no defense against that. And it doesn't console me that I know that hate has always been with us on this planet throughout the ages. It does not console me that hate today may not be as bad as some example that someone might be able to think of in the past or in another place. Any hate is too much. I ask you to remember that everybody is capable of feeling hate about something. And when we give in to a feeling of hate, we give hate freedom to go out and infect other people because hate generates hate. So if there's anything we can do as a people, the most important thing is to try and restrain our own hate and to continue on the path that the Prophet indicated, who told us that peace is the answer. Now, for many years, I was the civilian leader of the Halton Police, and I am so proud of them. I regard them as the best police service in our country. And they will do what they can, and they've done a lot to keep us safe. And I hope that the Government of Canada, which is the one who sets the criminal laws, will respond to the call to make our laws against hatred and acts of hatred stronger. So I've added my calls to yours for stronger action from the federal government. And I know that our MPs and our MPPs support you and me in that call. So I want to thank you very much for giving such good attention to my poor remarks. I hope they help make a difference and lift up your spirit and let you look forward to tomorrow with more hope and more faith and more courage and more engagement. And I'll conclude. Salam alaikum.
Okay. Next, we're going to hear from community youth, starting with Isra Abu Taha, and then with Marwan Abdullah.
This attack came as a shock to me, and I'm sure it did to many of you as well. We come to Canada believing that it is a diverse and multicultural country that supports and accepts our religious beliefs. For a whole family to be run over and killed, leaving an innocent child an orphan, is beyond unbelievable. I, as a Muslim Canadian teenager who wears the hijab, should not fear my life when I leave my house because of the visual representation of my faith. I have a right to practice what I believe in, and no one should make me fear this. I have always been confident and comfortable in wearing the hijab because of the amazing community around me. However, since the recent attack, I am now a lot more cautious when leaving the house, and it makes me doubt my safety. It makes me doubt my safety in practicing my religion not only freely but in public. It is very disheartening to have my right of safety that I am accustomed to jeopardized because of the hate towards Islam. We are here today as a community to stand in solidarity, to raise awareness to the violence that goes on towards Muslims, to make a change for the constant misconceptions and misrepresentation of Islam. The Muslim youth in Canada should never fear to practice what they believe in.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out here today to this marvelous gathering, this icon of solidarity, unity, and strength. I'd also like to offer my deepest, genuine gratitude to all our lovely guests over here today, Honorable Mayor Burton, honorable legislators, Mr. Moff, Mr. Crawford, and Mr. Effie Triantafilopoulos. And I'd like to offer my thanks as well to Halton Chief of Police, Officer Tanner. It's a pleasure to have you all here today. No one needs reminding of the reason we're gathering today, and so many more before it. An awful terrorist attack that took the lives of people we considered brothers and sisters in our faith and fellow citizens in this country. My speech over here won't be addressing the politicians or the public servants or the officials. There's plenty of that to go around from the other speakers today. I'm here to address you all today as brothers and sisters in humanity and as fellow Canadian citizens. Innocent souls were killed in this month's terrorist attack. 4 innocent souls denied their right to life because of their faith. It's not the first time it happened. In 2017, it happened in Quebec City. 6 worshippers were killed with cold blood while they were in their mosque. But rarely do we mention the purpose behind those attacks. We always mention the motivation, it's hate, and it is. But the purpose behind those attacks, and we can't turn a blind eye to this, is to make Muslims feel unwelcome and to reduce and eliminate their presence in Canada. Yet I assure everyone that all those malicious plans are in vain. To give you all a quick story, back in high school over here in Oakville, we used to host Friday prayers for the Muslim students. Just like the one we had over here today. Over 100 students would end up walking out of class every Friday to attend the prayers. It was a sizable number. This naturally made the school administration a bit wary of us. They tend to always, have a restrictive tone towards us, subtly trying to put, obstacles in the way of the prayers happening every week. So they got a bit, suspicious. But then one time, during one of the Friday prayers we had, while the khutbah was going on in the room, the principal walks by and listens to what's being said inside. The sermon that day was about, turning kids away from smoking, drugs, vaping, school fights, a typical gangster package. And would you look at her face? She was amazed. Because those were problems that were prolific, extremely endemic to exactly her school that she ran. They were trying so hard to fix those problems, but no one would ever listen. They would never comply. And now suddenly she found out there was a group of 100 students or so coming voluntarily every week to listen to advice that she knows would make her school a better place. And suddenly the administration's tone towards us completely shifted from being restrictive and suspicious and cautious to being supportive. They helped us out with our logistics, and now they were morally supporting us. What they realized was that the Muslim community at Garth Webb Secondary School was not a liability to the school, it was an asset. Those terrorists that attack us in our mosques and on the streets, they want to make us feel like we're a liability. They and all the others whose hearts have been poisoned by bigotry like to egregiously frame us as uncivilized, hateful barbarians. They try to frame our beloved faith as a burden to society, and they try to turn us away from it. But let them drown in their falsehoods. While they unapologetically and viciously kill people and take innocent lives, we're working every day in hospitals and in seniors' homes and in long-term care homes to save lives, working by the great verse, and he who saved one person is as if he saved the whole of mankind. While they make more widows and orphans, we're out there in orphanages and charities, helping out society, donating, and supporting our, the needy people in our community, equipped with the great verse, and in those in whose wealth there is a recognized right for the one who asks and for the one who's deprived. While they spread and market their deplorable injustice and the racism, we're out here spreading justice and advocating for it, embracing the great verse, and let not hatred of a certain people stop you from doing justice. Carry out justice, that is nearer to piety. We won't be turned around and we won't discard our beloved faith because of intimidation. No matter what those terrorists do, we will always hold on to it strong. Because every time we hold on to our faith strong and we embrace it overtly and publicly and we act upon it, we're sending a message. We're making a point. That point is the Muslim community is not a liability over here in Canada as those criminals like to portray. It's a great asset. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. This is a pleasure time for me to announce that we have established the DAR Civic Engagement Team, which is full of talented youth, males and females that will be working with us to hopefully try to help all of us to drive this engagement project further and further. Now, we are proud to have with us Minister Anand and MP Dama from the Liberal Caucus. They're here with us to say their remarks. Please. Let me.
Hi, Gareth.
How are you? Good
Nice
to see you.
Thank you for having me.
I will hold it.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. Behind.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, friends, sisters, brothers. Thank you so much for having me with you here today. Earlier this month, we learned of the horrifying and senseless murder of the Afzal family. Young Fayez will grow up without a mother, without a father, without a grandmother, without a sister. 3 generations murdered in our country, an hour and a half away from Oakville. That day that I learned, I decided to go out for a run to clear my head. And as I was running, a car came towards me at a very high speed. And I jumped up on the sidewalk at the last minute and the car swerved as well. And I didn't know what was in the mind of that driver, but I was scared. And I thought to myself, I should be so lucky to have avoided the fate that the Afzal family did not. And my heart, like yours and the entire Muslim community here in Canada, is broken also. Because this act of taking a stroll, which we all do, is harmless. It's ordinary. It's mundane. We all do this. But it wasn't so for the Afzal family. There are no words that can ease the pain, but as your elected representative, I want to say we need to do more. We need to do more to support the Muslim community. We have, as we've heard from the Imam, denounced organizations as terrorists. 13 named organizations, including the Proud Boys, were denounced in February. And just this week, 4 more were also added to the list. And our government will continue to denounce terrorist organizations, organizations that spread hatred and incite violence against minorities, including the Muslim community. But there is more to be done. We also, in the House of Commons, passed Motion 103, condemning Islamophobia. There is more to be done to ensure that everyone, not just in the House of Commons, but across the country, recognizes the importance of denouncing Islamophobia. And then finally, this week we introduced Bill C-36 relating to online hatred to make sure that we are addressing the ways in which hate can spread so quickly throughout our community. Hatred against the Muslim community has no place in our country. It has no place in our province. It has no place in our beloved town of Oakville. And I will stand up for you with my colleagues to protect the Muslim community against this despicable act of hatred, of murder, of incredible discrimination and racism. We need to be able to allow women to wear a hijab and walk down the street. We need to be able to protect communities that face racism because they are simply practicing their everyday religion. That is a very basic tenet of Canadian society. It is enshrined in our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and it is a value that we must continue to uphold every day in our laws, in our actions, in our words, in our writing, and in our conduct. So the actions that we need to take begin here, but they spread throughout this country and affect everyone. To all of us, we all agree, this is a despicable act. We need to ensure that everyone in this country views Islamophobia as a despicable act. We must all work together, and we must convince not only our opposition parties in the House of Commons, but across the country, that the Muslim community must be protected from criminal and other conduct. We need to fight Islamophobia. We must be able to look Fayez, young Fayez, in the eyes and say, we did all we could for you and for all Muslims. And I want you to know, I will continue to stand with you, to stand up for you, and to voice your concerns in my government. May peace and blessings be upon you, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
MP Pam Grandma, please.
Oh, I can hold it. Sure? Yep. Assalamu alaikum. I joined many of you, as did my colleague Anita, a few weeks ago in downtown Oakville when we held a vigil for the terrorist act that happened in my hometown of London, Ontario. I just want to echo what Anita and others have said about the horrible, horrible killing of the family in London and the attack on a young boy who now has to face life as an orphan. But I know that the Muslim community in London and across Canada has stepped up to be able to say, we will look after this young man and we will stand together. On May 5th, I brought an emergency motion to the Public Safety Committee that we study what is called ideologically motivated violent extremism, which is basically white supremacism, misogyny, individuals who are part of the Canadian fabric that are targeting individuals, targeting Muslims, targeting women. We had started our study when the attack happened, and so I made another motion to invite the National Council of Canadian Muslims to come to committee to share with us what they wanted the federal government to do. And many of the things echoed what I heard here in Oakville at the vigil, that we enhance our hate legislation. Anita has mentioned that there was a bill that was brought to the House of Commons on Wednesday, that we list additional terrorist organizations. Prior to 2019, not one white supremacist organization was listed as a terrorist organization in Canada. Under the previous public safety minister in the last parliament, Ralph Goodale, we listed the first 3. Since we were elected in 2019, we listed, as you've heard, the Proud Boys, and today Minister Blair listed the 3 Percenters and one other white supremacist organization and a neo-Nazi individual. The listing of these terrorist organizations actually has a huge impact on their ability to function. But we know, sadly, from CSIS, the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, and an organization called NSICOP, which is the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, who did annual reports that said to us Canadians are more active than those in the US or in the UK in online hate groups. That there are thousands of Canadians that are participating in these groups. As Ralph Goodale said 4 or 5 years ago, the biggest threat to Canadians is the lone wolf who is sitting on his computer, and sadly, that's what we've seen. I want to give a shout out to Mustafa. You know Mustafa, he is working in my office as a summer intern. Mustafa has been supporting me at the Public Safety Committee. He helped me draft a letter to the Prime Minister calling on the very things that your community has asked for. You can be very proud. I know you're proud of everyone at DAR Foundation and all of the young people, but you can be particularly proud that Mustafa is making a difference at the federal level to ensure that your concerns are heard and that we're doing the right things to protect you and others from the kind of hate that we're seeing. There's still a lot of work to do, but I promise you that this work, which started in 2015, updating the national security framework, no longer targeting Muslims as terrorists, which is what was happening prior to that, it will continue. I'm proud to serve with Minister Anita Anand and others in Parliament, and I just want to say thank you for including us. On behalf of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and everyone in the House of Commons, I just want to extend my condolences for the loss that you're feeling and give you, Anita, and my commitment that we will continue to work on your behalf in Ottawa. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rahman. Thank you very much, Mr. Jamal. It's a pleasure always to have you. Thank you. Jazakallah khair for bearing with us, and please bear with us a little bit more so we can inshallah hear from all of our guests. Next we have our very own, there we go, she's here, Amal Al-Baz, who has been a great voice for our Muslim community challenges at different levels, has been an inspirational for a lot of us. We'll hear from her inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I know you're cold and it's rainy. Assalamu alaikum.
I'm just kidding.
Good to hear you guys. I'm okay. Yeah, thank you. So I had a whole spiel that I was going to say before the poem, but I think you'll all appreciate if I keep it short and sweet given the weather conditions. So I'm just going to jump into the poem. Inshallah, I'm sure we'll meet again and we can talk as much as we can. So the poem that I'm going to share with you guys, inshallah, is actually called Unmet Friends 2.0. And the reason why it's that is that I have another poem called Unmet Friends that I wrote when the Muslim ban happened in America. So the second half of this poem is from then, which is so unfortunate that we keep saying the same things over and over and over again. And everything is the same cause, right? The same root of all these issues: supremacy, anti-Muslim hate, superiority, fear, all that stuff you already know. And the reason why I decided to add this part here as well is that on the day of, in the House of Commons, when M103, the Islamophobia bill, the most cited these words in the House of Commons, so I thought it was suitable to share it with you as well in this poem. So Bismillah, Unmet Friends 2.0. Every time I leave the house, I pick up my wallet, my keys, and my mental shield. I never know if I'll need it, so I keep it with me, hidden, concealed, just in case. This shield is heavy. It's exhausting to carry around. but who knows if I'll need it at the grocery store or the playground. I tell myself it's all in your head. Just keep your head up, smile, and look straight ahead. They're not looking at you funny, they just love your shoes. They're not comparing you to those people on the news. You don't have to prove your humanity. What is this insanity? You're fine. But just as I start to believe these lies I tell myself, reality makes a better argument. Someone who looked like me was killed. Because they looked like me, they were killed. Okay, I guess they weren't looking at my shoes. Even if it was the first time, it's one time too many. How can our lives be seen as cheaper than a penny? Why are their hearts so full of hate? Why is my life even up for debate? I know I look different, trust me, I do, but why are you the standard? Why must I look like you? This world is a puzzle, each of us a different piece. You're one part of the picture, not the centerpiece. This world is a puzzle, each of us a different piece. Only when we come together, we create this picture of peace. But how can there be peace if there is systemic discrimination? Politicians who say they're against hate, who set this racist foundation? How can you think there's no correlation? You can't ban my hijab in parts of the nation and then tell me you value my participation. In what world does this make sense? You can't ban children from flying because of their Muslim name, treat us like suspects, and then say you're not to blame. You knock on my door when it's time to get elected, and I vote for you, thinking I'll be protected. But if you don't keep the promises you make, I will find someone who will, because my life is at stake. You can talk all you want with the we wills and we cans, but if you don't take real action, our blood is on your hand. And not just Muslim blood, but indigenous, brown, and black. If one of us is threatened, we are all under attack. There is hate, but the love is more. There is fear, but the faith is more. There is hurt, but the hope is more. You see, even with my trauma and all of my pain, I still go out of my way and build bridges again and again, because connecting with you is my only defense. If I convince you I'm human enough, maybe you won't be on the fence. Maybe it'll start to make sense. You see, fear happens when people fail to see that you're actually just like me. We have to see each other for who we are. We eat the same food, drive the same car. We both have kids who drive us crazy. We all have weekends when we're lazy. We all hate spiders, cold coffee, and lines, and no one's a fan of parking fines. We follow the same shows on our TV. We like reading a good book beneath a tree. We dread shoveling when the snow hits hard, and we have barbecues in the backyard. You get your wife flowers? Well, so does he. And we all love a nice warm cup of tea. We love it when Nana makes a home-cooked pie, and when we watch The Notebook, we always cry. You see, you and I, we're a lot alike. I may be Muhammad, you may be Mike, but our lives are more similar than you think. Our humanity is our common link. We have the same pleasures and the same fears. The same things make us happy. The same things bring us tears. So no, I am not a security threat. We're just friends who haven't met. At least, not yet. And Jazakumullah khair. Thank you.
I was going to say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but I forgot that Amal was actually saying words. She actually paints the words, Bismillah, mashallah, in a very beautiful way that we see her words, like a beautiful picture that describes our condition. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you barakah to you and your family, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you. Next, on behalf of Chief Tanner, the Chief of Police of Halton Police, we have with us Constable Juan Ferlin to give us the words on behalf of the Chief. Please.
Everyone hear you okay? Yeah. My name is Constable Ron Ferlin. I'm with the Halton Regional Police Service. I work out of our Regional Community Mobilization Bureau at our headquarters. Unfortunately, today our Chief of Police was unable to make it. He passes his regards, but he has left me some notes to read to all of us here today. It is with regret that I'm unable to be here in person with everyone gathered in Oakville. today, along with the DAR Foundation and so many supporters, to publicly show respect and honor to the victims of the horrific and senseless vehicular attack and murders that took place in London, Ontario. I also wish to thank the organizers for putting this event together. I'm also very thankful for the fabulous and very positive relationship we have here in the region of Halton with our Muslim community. All here today, representative of so many diverse cultures, backgrounds, and religions, have gathered collectively and in solidarity to mourn the terrible loss, to stand with and support our wonderful Muslim community members, and to show their deep respect to the family who tragically lost their lives. I want to make one thing absolutely clear to everyone here today and to those throughout the region of Halton, across Canada and far beyond, and that is that there's absolutely no place in our society or in our world for Islamophobia, for hatred, discrimination, of racism of any kind. This behavior will not be tolerated, and as your chief of police, I and 1,000 members of our police service will remain dedicated and vigilant in order to protect every single person that we are sworn to protect. Today we stand united with our Muslim community and all that we've been impacted with this unthinkable, tragic incident. We are here for you, and we will always be here for you. As we take the time here today to pause and reflect on this terrible loss, let us also take the opportunity to reach out to one another across cultures, religions, and to learn and understand one another. At the end of the day, we're also very much alike, other than being different, and we need our society to come together and support one another. And finally, to each and every one of you here today, thank you. During and following tragic times such as this, your support is very important, and I know it's most sincerely appreciated. Thank you, Steve Tanner, your Chief of Police. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ron. Please pass our greetings to the Chief. Thank you very much for being with us. I just want to say that we did have a couple of roundtables and meetings with the Halton Police, and we are definitely working closely with them as the leadership of the Oakville community and DAR Foundation to, inshallah, get proper measures in place for your safety and security. Last but not least, we have our dear friends from the Provincial Conservative Caucus. We have MP Trentopoulos, MPP, Stephen Crawford, and our brother here, brother and friend, MPP, Associate Minister Khalid Rashid is also with us here today to give you their remarks. It's always a pleasure having them with us. Thank you very much for joining us.
No, it's great. No, I'm just gonna do it. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Effie Triantafilopoulos, the MPP for Oakville North Burlington, and it's a true pleasure to be with you, and I thank you all very much for patiently waiting to hear all of us speak today. We are gathered here today this afternoon in sorrow to mourn for the 4 members of the Afsal family murdered in London. We honor their lives and mourn with their loved ones, family and friends, members of the Muslim community, and people across Ontario and Canada. We are also gathered today in resolution. We are resolved to stand together against hatred, against racism, and against discrimination. Everyone within our borders is a Canadian, worthy of respect, worthy of life, and worthy of dignity. We stand together against those who would try to tear us apart and to turn one against the other. To every member of the Muslim community here this afternoon, let me say this: you are loved, you are respected, and you are full members of our community and our country. Every Canadian family came here to build a better life for their children. or their ancestors did, however many years ago. They came here for hope of a better life. There are those who would try to crush our hopes, but we will not let them. We will stand together as one community and one people dedicated to fighting hatred and discrimination and Islamophobia. We will continue to build this land of hope where we value the dignity of everyone, every individual, every family, and every community. God bless the Afzal family and may their memory be cherished and their legacy be forever honored. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. It's, I'll say, a pleasure to be here with you because I feel the DAR Foundation is part of my family, but it's sad that we have to even be here today to remember the family that was taken away a few weeks ago in London, Ontario. And that horrible tragedy has, I think, shaped all of us and affected all of us. And that was a heinous act of terrorism, pure and simple. And I heard the remarks from the Imam, and for us, your remarks were touched home to me. And many of you may know or may not know that my in-laws immigrated to Canada from Morocco back in the 1980s. Originally from Pakistan, they moved to Morocco for a number of years and then finally ended up in this country. And my father-in-law moved to a small community called Rouyn-Noranda in northern Quebec, and then went to Ottawa, and finally worked his way up to be one of the premier scientists at the Canadian Space Agency in Montreal. He was one of the gentlemen that actually helped design the RadarSat satellite program, which is above us now, so that it can predict earthquakes, tsunamis, and such. One of the most brilliant men I've ever met. Sadly, he passed away 2 years ago. But he stays within me. And for us, your point about Islamophobia, not only is a thought for me, but it was a direct situation, which he told me about. And I just share with you very, very quickly. In 2001, after the horrible terrorist incident, of course, that happened in New York, the next day, my father-in-law at home was visited by CSIS, simply because he was Muslim. And he worked at the space agency. And my father-in-law was a proud Muslim, but also a very, very proud Canadian. And I want to get to the day where that never happens again. No one should visit me because a terrorist who looks white or blue-eyed kills somebody, nor should a police ever visit someone who is Muslim. There are terrorists from every religion that look every which way. These are horrible, horrendous people. And every country has them, we know that. But they're a minority. And all the Muslim people I know in Canada have made me feel welcome to be part of the community and are great people. So let's make sure from this horrific event, this horrible event, let's let a little bit of good come out of it. Stand together as Canadians, united, and let's build bridges and work together for a more peaceful society and a better country. So with that, my heart goes to you, the community. I want to again bring condolences and greetings as well from the Government of Ontario, Premier Ford, my own family, and myself. And I wish you all the best. And next time we meet, it'll be a better day, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, again, our dear friend, Associate Minister Khalid Rashid, who has been doing a great work to serve the constituency, Ontario, and definitely the Muslim community. We welcome him here with us for the first time. It's a pleasure to have you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم. First of all, Jazakumullah khair, Brother Firas, to you and DAR Foundation for having this vigil here. And this is now, I think, my almost 14th or 15th vigil across the province that I have gone to. And every time I go to a vigil, I literally just feel like I hope and pray that this is the last time, for the love of God, last time that we are gathering at a vigil for any community, not only just my Muslim community, but any community. Because hate has no place in our society. What happened in London, Ontario, as Premier Ford said, very eloquently he said this. He said it was an act of terrorism. And I was standing beside him when he said that. And he had, literally he had tears in his eyes when he met with the family of the Afzal family, and they were talking about the young 9-year-old Fayaz, who no longer has a mom, dad, or a sister. I'm a father of, mashallah, 5 kids, and my oldest daughter, she's 13, and mashallah, they, you know, coming from the Muslim family, they are hijabi. My wife, my daughters, they all wear hijab. And the day that this incident happened, the very next day, my daughter asked me, she said, Papa, is it safe for me to go out with my hijab on? And I said to her, her name is Noor, and I said, Noor, go out there. Go out there, because I don't want you to be scared of that one incident that happened. Because we want our kids, our families, our mothers, our daughters who wear hijab, or anyone, even like somebody who's wearing a traditional Muslim dress, to be sitting at home scared that if they go out, something may happen. And this is the message I want to give today, that we cannot give into these kind of hatred acts that happen in our country, in our province. My grandfather came to this country in '67 with a Canadian dream. He came with a dream that he wanted his children and grandchildren to have a better future in the best country in the world. And last Friday, when I took the oath of as an associate minister, the first Muslim minister in the Ontario PC party in the entire country, I went to my grandfather's grave and I said, thank you so much, Jazakallah khair, to my grandfather for giving me this opportunity. And I just want to make sure that we all understand, let us not give into the hate. We need to do our very best, because no one is born with a hate in themselves. It is unfortunately something that people talk about in playgrounds, in workplaces, and we need to work together. We need to work together to eradicate hate, and especially Islamophobia. It does exist. We all recognize this, and we all need to work together to make sure that an act of terror such as what happened in London, Ontario never happens again. So, and I appreciate both my colleagues here, F.A. Triantafilopoulos and Stephen Crawford, who asked me and Brother Firas for me to come here and tell you that we all stand shoulder to shoulder with our communities and any community out there against hate, and let us all continue to work together to make sure that one day we do not have to face racism or such act of hatred in our province and in our country. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much for the Ontario Conservative Caucus members for joining us. Very powerful words, but again, to all the officials we say, please don't stop at words. We have to turn it into actions. And I promise you, for us at DAR Foundation, all the Muslim activists, we're working so hard to turn words into actions. Bi'idhnillah ta'ala. We're working so hard, all of us, to turn words into action and to, inshallah, keep us all safe in what we know as our home. We will be safe, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. One more minute before you go. SubhanAllah, with everything happening, our community is not decreasing, it's increasing in size. Today we want to welcome a new member, inshallah, joining our community despite all the challenges, despite all what's happening around us. But subhanAllah, the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always attractive to those who have their hearts open to it. And inshallah, also I want to remind you, the Behnasawi family, before you go, please sign the card and help him, inshallah, to get Abdul Rahman, our son, back to his family. And I'll leave you with Dr. Amjad and our new sister.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Even though one of the biggest points of attack against Islam is the gate of women. They claim that Islam is oppressing women, yet 75% of those who revert to Islam are women. SubhanAllah. Now, on your behalf, I want to welcome Sister Bonnie. Sister Bonnie just a few days ago decided to become a Muslim. She started reading the Quran just in January, a few months ago. Now she decided, and she would love to declare her Shahada now in front of you. And it's, I think, a great opportunity for all of you, directly in her face, to make dua for her, inshallah, when she declares the Shahada. That's in the fact, don't forget her in your private prayers. You know, as we say, siham. It's like siham al-layl, we say in Arabic, which means like the arrows inside of the night. It's like guaranteed acceptance between you and Allah, to Allah, to give her the tranquility and to give her the courage and the power, because it's not easy. As Brother Firas said, he said, even though the attack is against Islam, anyone would come mainly in the mathematical, physical calculations, they are losing, they are not gaining. So they are really brave people. Sister Bonnie, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Jazakumullah khair. And before you declare the Shahada, I will say the Shahada you repeat just in 2-3 minutes, if you don't mind. Why did you decide to become a Muslim?
Well, when I was reading the translation of the Quran, the more I kept reading, the more I could see myself converted at some point. I was born into Christianity, but I never really believed it fully. But the more I kept reading, so this Ramadan I fasted for the first time, and I've been kind of testing the waters before deciding, but I've been kind of living like a Muslim since then. I've learned the Salah during Ramadan, and now it's
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. And I think she knows, but it's good for us just as a sign of celebration when someone reverts to Islam, and I'm not saying converts, I'm saying reverts. Okay? Because the convert is the one who decided to change from two. The revert is the one who was born as a Muslim and simply he discovered he should have been a Muslim, then he is reverting back to Islam. And this is what happens with the purity of the heart. By declaring the Shahada, everything from the past is completely deleted and will be, inshallah, transmitted into, instead of sins or shortcomings, into rewards and ajr. May Allah accept from you. I will say it in Arabic, you repeat it after me in Arabic, then we'll say it in English, inshallah, and we will say Al-Mubarak for you. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulu Allah. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. Muhammad is his messenger. Congratulations, mashallah. May Allah accept from you, mashallah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you for being with us. May Allah accept from you, inshallah. Make dua for her, please.
Jazakumullah khair. Jazakumullah khair for coming out in this weather. And I'd like to thank the DAR Civic Engagement team for organizing this, and the DAR members and the DAR board and the DAR management. I'd like to thank you for always being responsive. Inshallah, we'll be together in more events, but inshallah, better, safe, and happy events. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. And definitely like to thank Jawad Porsche for this amazing role that he played today. Give him a big hand. Inshallah, one day he will be standing, following the footsteps of his father, in being a big advocate for human rights and Islam, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. حفظكم الله جميعا ورعاكم وعلى تواصل والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. And a big thank, please, before you go, Ammu Ihab, who is always being the backbone of everything we do at DAR. جزاه خير وبارك فيه وفي أهله وفي كل من ساهم وكل من قدم. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.